Take a slow breath with me for a second, because what I'm about to say might challenge the way you understand your own struggles for years. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Now, before you react to that, before you think that's unrealistic or you don't know what I've been through, let me clarify something very important. When I talk about suffering in this video, I'm not talking about physical pain, and I'm not denying real hardship. I'm talking about psychological and emotional suffering. There is a difference. And understanding that difference changed my life. Let me slow it down. Pain is part of being human. If someone you love leaves, that hurts. If you lose your job, that hurts. If you get sick, that hurts. If someone betrays you, that hurts. Pain is natural. Pain is honest. Pain is not weakness. But suffering is what happens after pain. Suffering is the mental replay. It's the story. It's the resistance. It's the this should have happened. This shouldn't have happened. It's the why does this always happen to me? It's the spiral. Pain is the initial impact. Suffering is the continuation. Pain may knock on your door. Suffering is when you invite it in, give it a name, and let it live with you. There's a teaching from Buddha that explains this beautifully. He said that whenever something negative happens in your life, two arrows fly toward you. The first arrow is the event itself, the loss, the failure, the rejection, the diagnosis. That arrow hits, and yes, it hurts. You can't always control that first arrow. But then the second arrow flies. And this one is different. The second arrow is your reaction to the first. It's the anger, the self-blame, the shame, the overthinking, the I'll never recover, the I'm not good enough. The second arrow is the identity you create around the pain. And according to the Buddha, the second arrow is optional. When I first heard that, I honestly didn't like it because it sounded dismissive. Optional? If suffering were optional, nobody would choose it. So how could that possibly be true? I couldn't understand how something that felt so automatic could be optional. And that question stayed with me for years. Let me be honest with you. I wasn't just mildly stressed, I was chronically anxious, restless, always chasing something, always feeling like I was behind. Externally, things weren't fine. Internally, I felt heavy. And I became obsessed with fixing myself. I read everything. I mean everything. Self-help, psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, ancient spiritual texts. I went to therapy. I meditated every single day. I woke up at 5 a.m. I redesigned my routines. I tracked my habits. I changed my diet. I tried becoming ultra disciplined. What can I say? I studied personality systems. I attended retreats. I followed spiritual teachers. If there was a method, I probably tried it. And here's the frustrating part. My life improved. I became more productive, more structured, more aware, but the suffering didn't disappear. The anxiety was still there. The insecurity was still there. The feeling of not being enough was still there. And after years of trying everything, I started feeling more lost than when I began. Because if discipline doesn't fix it, if knowledge doesn't fix it, if success doesn't fix it, then what does? I remember feeling purposeless, directionless, like I had optimized everything except peace. And there's a stage in personal growth that nobody talks about. It's the burnout stage, where you're exhausted from trying to improve yourself, where every new strategy feels like pressure, where you secretly wonder, what if I'm just broken? That's where I was. And ironically, that's when something shifted. I met a mentor during one of the lowest points in my life, and I thought he was going to give me another strategy, another habit, another mindset, another technique. Instead, he he asked me a question that stopped me. He asked, "Where do your feelings actually come from?" I answered immediately, "From what happens to me." He said, "Look closer." And there is where everything changed. Your feelings don't come directly from events, they come from thought. Let me explain. Two people can experience the exact same situation. One person spirals into despair, the other sees opportunity. Same event, different experience. But why? Different thinking. The event is neutral until meaning is added, and the meaning comes from thought. Now, this is not about blaming yourself. This is not about pretending pain doesn't exist. This is about understanding how your experience is created. Um, Thoughts appear in your mind constantly, every second. You don't choose most of them, they just show up. And when you believe them completely, they create emotional reality. If your mind says, I'm a failure, and you believe it, you feel shame. If your mind says, this will pass, and you believe it, you feel resilience. Same brain, different thought, different experience. The second arrow isn't the event. The second arrow is believing every painful thought about the event. And once I saw that, because I relaxed, uh, something else relaxed. Because I realized I didn't need to control every thought. I didn't need to fight my mind. I didn't need to replace negativity with forced positivity. I just needed to understand. Thoughts move. They rise, they fall, they change. Have you ever noticed um, you don't choose your next thought? It just appears. And then another, and another. Your mind is generating stories all day long. But here's the freedom. You don't have to attach to every story. You don't have to build an identity around every mental sentence. When a painful thought appears, instead of wrestling it, you can notice it. And when you notice it, without feeding it, it loses energy. The suffering shortens. The spiral slows. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped adding fuel. And this is what optional really means. It doesn't mean you consciously choose to suffer. It means suffering is sustained by misunderstanding how thought works. When you believe every thought is truth, you shoot the second arrow. When you see thoughts as temporary mental activity, the second arrow weakens. Pain still happens, grief still happens, disappointment still happens, but the psychological torment doesn't have to last forever. Let me ask you something. Right now, is there something in your life that feels heavy? Something that you keep replaying? Something that feels unresolved? Now look carefully. Is the suffering coming from the event itself or from the story about the event? Are you experiencing the first arrow or are you repeatedly firing the second one? This isn't about suppressing emotion. It's not about spiritual bypassing. It's about awareness. Because in the space between what happens and the story you tell about what happens, that's where your power lives. That's where freedom begins. Pain is human. Suffering is psychological. And once you understand how your mind creates experience, you stop fearing your emotions. You stop fighting your thoughts. And, paradoxically, that's when peace starts to emerge. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer attacking yourself mentally. So, the next time something painful happens, pause. Feel it. Honor it. But gently ask yourself, am I adding a second arrow right now? The question alone can change everything. If this resonated with you, comment the word awareness, because awareness is the beginning. And once you truly see how suffering is created, you can't unsee it. And when you can't unsee it, you stop living at war with your own mind. If you like this content, please give me a follow. I'm just starting this new channel. I hope to make a living out of it someday. I hope to inspire a lot of people through it. So please give me a follow, like the video, and share it with your friends. I'm Daniel. See you in the next video.